questions. You just bought one of your very first big lizards and you're wondering how you can tame it from the tiny little monster it is up to a tame little puppy dog like this boy. This typically will work best on tegus and caiman lizards, mostly lizards of the Tiidae family. Most of this can apply to any lizard, even if you own a fierce little bearded dragon. Now here's 5 tips on how you can tame your little monster. Tip number 1. Make sure you spend a lot of time with your animal. When you first get your little monster in, he is or she is going to be very, very angry. And now they're being put in an environment that they're very unfamiliar with. And so mostly they are a bit aggressive because they are just scared. They're being defensive. So get them into their new enclosure that you've already prepared and let them settle in for a few days. Ways that you can spend time with them is just by sitting by the cage, allowing them to get used to your presence. You can place their enclosure in a high traffic area. You can give them about a week where they are getting used to their new enclosure and slowly increase the noise or activity that's going on around them. As you slowly progress towards that, make sure you sit by the enclosure lots. Watch them, try to understand their behavior before you start trying to reach in and touch your animal. Now I prefer the cages that open up on the front. This way you're not coming in from the top, because coming in from the top often does scare many animals. Tip number 2, hand feed. Now you may not just always hand feed or give the animal the food by your hand, but at least use a pair of tongs. The faster you can get them hand feeding, the sooner they're going to figure out that you are their main source of food and how they are going to stay alive. It also acts as a wonderful time to bond with them. Whenever they see you, they will then relate the experience of your presence with something positive like eating. Tip number 3, chin rubs. Now that might sound silly at first, but trust me, for whatever reason, they usually don't mind it, and it is more difficult for them to bite you. And it is also a very non-threatening way to approach the animal. Typically you want to come in with a flat palm low on the ground. As you slowly scoot towards them, then start rubbing the front portion of their chin and start chin rubbing them. It's one of the least threatening ways to approach them and to get them used to the sensation of being touched. Tip number 4, motivate movement with their food. You want to get them on you or near you. Once they've developed a larger food aggression, you want to get them on you or near you as best you can. And usually as lizards get older, they become a little bit more food aggressive. And so at this point, you want to try to entice them to be close to you. One of the ways that I did this with my caiman lizard was that I would place my hand down and place the food kind of near my arm. That way he would have to crawl on my hand or my arm in order to get food. Now this is called positive reinforcement. The behavior I wanted from him was for him to just climb on me. And now almost every time I feed him, he almost instinctively jumps into my lap. And last but not least, tip number 5, stay consistent. If you start tongue feeding, you tongue feed them every day. If you start handling them, handle them every single day. It is very important to stay consistent. If it is inconsistent, you're going to have a very difficult time taming your lizard, and it will take much, much longer in order to tame your animal. Reptiles are creatures of habit. They like things to stay the same every single day. So if there is something different, it can stress them out. And then if you leave your lizard alone for too long, they start to realize, you know what, I kind of like this, being left alone. Then you might have to start over again with taming your lizard. Thank you for joining Thorn and I today. Hopefully that information was helpful. If it was, make sure you guys hit that like button and consider subscribing. That way you never miss out on any content that we do release here in the future. Thank you guys again so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.